All right, so I just wanted really a lot of what I wanted to talk about, and this is actually just the United States chart, but I wanted to just look at what's happening in terms of this conjunction between Rahu and Uranus. And Uranus is really the planet of technological advancement. It's the planet of shifts of in terms of people going through a Uranus pivotal change, meaning folks that have planets in Taurus, even folks that have planets aspected by Taurus, Rashi aspected by Taurus, would feel this in many ways, especially if it is the sun, because Uranus itself gives us breakthroughs with our sun and soul purpose, life and our alignment with our direction and self-actualizing our individuality. And so that's what Uranus is all about, and why this time is so important, and how these transits factor in is that if you have planets in either Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer, which are aspected by this, you are going to potentially see the effects that I'll go over with this conjunction affecting your ability to manifest business and trade with others. You may see yourself, if it is in Libra, if it is in Capricorn, you may see that you are having issues with basically threats and dangers in your life coming to the forefront, maybe in radical ways too, because this is Rahu, which is the unknown, which is, and also Uranus, which is kind of it comes about in instability or electric ways. And so you may see these things kind of being thrown at you, coming from the side where you're not really anticipating them. And of course, any Capricorn placements are folks that do like to have a sense of control, and this can be kind of jarring. Even in Taurus, where we do like to plan things, this can be kind of jarring. And of course, in Cancer, so our US chart, the Philadelphia chart, is basically in Sun in Cancer. And so this does sort of take us on this emotional roller coaster through Cancer season, where the sun is transiting Cancer. Because of this conjunction, it does make us consider our values, which is Taurus. It makes us consider the development of foreign lands, which is Cancer. And our relationships with foreign lands would become volatile, as Laura had described. You know, fears can come out of Cancer season, and especially with Rahu involved here, we can see some fear of the unknown just as a collective. And, you know, already with Laura describing what's happening with Saturn in the Lunar New Year, and that fear is an aspect of what we're going through emotionally. This really does show up, I think, for folks who are experiencing this Uranus conjunction with Rahu in a very visceral way.
Yeah.
Yes. So the conjunction with Rahu is really those things that are out of our grasp and are unknown and confusing, where we lack mastery. And there is this feeling right now with this conjunction having gone on for a while, as you know, Rahu came into Taurus around the New Year. around, I think it was like December 30th or so when it came in. And so this has kind of been going on for a while. And really one of the effects of this is that feeling of not being able to have cash flow, of manifesting our normal resources, and inflation, that kind of thing has been really kind of been a struggle for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Inflation. Yeah.
Yeah. As a collective, just really struggling to kind of make, even if you are financially stable, you're really feeling the cash flow issue as trying to move money around is kind of difficult in this time. And in terms of Uranus itself, if your sun is involved in Taurus or any of these other signs I mentioned that are aspected by this, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra, you're going to be feeling a soul shift, a soul alignment shift, and you're going to be wanting a more individualized approach to your life.
Yeah.
And
exactly true.
Making that shift. So the challenge becomes doing so in the face of uncertainty. So this is what makes this conjunction particularly challenging, because here you have Uranus coming through, making you feel uncertain about your resources and how you provide for your physical self in the physical world. And then your soul, on the other hand, wants to shift things in a direction that's more individual to who you are. But at the same time, you're doing so in the face of uncertainty with Rahu. So it's a very destabilizing kind of energy for many people who are trying to have a soul evolution in their identity and their, particularly if your sun is involved here, it is an issue. And also on the heels of Cancer season, so here's Cancer with Mercury transiting, and we do see in the chart of the US, this is transposed here on the US planets, but we see that we've shifted over from really positions in Gemini before, where we were mostly kind of having fun in the summer and maybe taking some trips and chatting and having kind of a light conversation. And really after that July 4th holiday, we slipped into here. And what that did is it kind of focused our attention back internally in integration, emotional integration. And I do believe that what we're seeing is during this emotional integration time with Cancer, we're really incorporating Mars as well now into the mix of our identity and the unknown, and making those shifts. Now we're kind of advocating more for the things we want. And it's so much clearer because Jupiter is here in Aries. So Jupiter is also sort of like expanding what we want at the same time. And as you know, Mercury is the planet of manifestation, and manifestation occurs in the mind first, right? And first, before you can manifest, you have to get your emotions in line. You kind of sort of have to figure out, who am I? And we came out of the summer solstice and we go into Cancer season, and it's really less about production and it's more about the introspection the rest of the year. But here we're hitting it hard with this integration of all the things we've learned before. Mars came in with Jupiter and really started to break up and start advocating for what we wanted. And as we approach our soul purpose and revamping all of that, we're really bringing in that Mars energy into Taurus now. And yes, it has ramifications on like a global scale of violence, but on an inner inner introspective sort of our introspective process, Mars is really going to say that that it's okay. We are looking at making changes here.
Yeah.
It is identity changes. It is changes to like the way we perhaps make money, the way we voice ourselves, because here in a second too, well, we're actually able now with these two planets together, Sun and Mercury, we're able to express a little bit of what's going on with our emotional state, what's most at the heart of what we want in this configuration.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, you know, Saturn is really close to, is that that's in, going over the moon, isn't it? Of the United States.
So this is the moon of the United States. So yeah, really approaching the heart too.
Right. It's also Rashi aspecting Cancer. So when Saturn moves into Pisces, everyone's going to feel a lifting. I think, you know, well, Americans, you know, they're going to, we really are going to feel a lot better.
In
the
this
last 2 years.
You know, like Saturn sitting on the collective U.S. heart or the collective U.S. mind is really also bringing home that fear. And so and there's so many, like you said, potentially violent ramifications on a global scale of this Mars conjuncting into Taurus with Uranus and Rahu, and like really messing up our political alliances potentially and these kind of things. But internally, and particularly if you do have like Sun in Taurus or even across here in Scorpio, you're going to feel this come across as perhaps some instability and erratic behavior and radical change and so much of that. And so, but what's really interesting about this transit as we push forward, I'm going to push it forward a little bit. So you can see here too, really aligning what you're saying with what your mission is, and in the vein of like, we're really going after what's in our heart, really what we want at this point. From an emotional standpoint, really bringing that through into Leo. So once we get into Leo season, we've integrated all this emotional information about what we want. And, you know, Venus in Gemini was great. It's great because it kind of soothes our relationships. But once it goes into Cancer, it becomes kind of raw, and it becomes sort of more of a situation of our relationships not quite caught up with what's really happening with us.
Right.
And
true,
how we're asserting ourselves, right? And then, of course, we see, whoops, I went too fast here. I'm going to actually slow this down a bit and come on in with the moon, then, you know, hitting all these planets and making the new moon conjunction here in Leo. So really what this is about for me on an internal perspective is it's all about finding out what you want for yourself and your core individuality, because you really can't escape this with this conjunction happening here and drawing closer towards the end of July. And then you have this new powerful moon here. So really, once you've integrated these emotions and you have your new moon in Leo, you're really ready to talk the talk and explain where you're really at. Your new alignment to what you want in life is coming about here. You're manifesting it because Mercury is right there. And it's beautiful in a way, because we've got Jupiter at our backs and really giving us wisdom in in everything that we're moving forward with with Mars here. And we're going to be making radical shifts. Radical
Absolutely.
shifts.
I was going to mention that too, that this July 28th, when you have that conjunction in Leo, that new moon in Leo, that will be, I remember we were talking about how the eclipse is the big one. And then you look at the new moons kind of in relation to the eclipse. And that eclipse happened in Taurus.
Yes.
And so that's the fourth house. That's a fourth house point from Taurus, Leo,
Yes.
So this new moon is a fourth house it has a fourth house energy to it, right, which is the happiness and the emotional stability, those things that you were talking about just now. And then of course, being in the sign of Leo, which is you'll be able, because you have that emotional learning and foundation, you're creating from it. You can create something new from it.
It's so exciting because it's like the exact opposite of the violence we see on the outside is we're seeing ourselves, and potentially there could be violence in your lives. But I think the inner landscape is far more interesting because again, this is, like you said, you do count from the house that Uranus is making this powerful conjunction outwards. And so this is like the fourth house. So really it does have this emotional integration and inner happiness. And really you're getting to the heart of the matter now. And you're saying, I'm going to make these changes to get closer to my heart's desire, and the way that I want to live my life and my lifestyle is going to have to align with the emotions that I've learned and integrated in this. And really too, and why I say Jupiter is at our backs, it's because Jupiter is in the 12th house from this conjunction. And really Jupiter is like giving us the subconscious wisdom and spiritual connection to our sovereign path. This is all about a sovereign path. And it's
very much. Yep.
So we're going to see a lot of people step forward and say, I want to do this other thing. Maybe I don't want to work for my corporate gig. I want to do this kind of what might seem to be wild or like radical shifts in their internal world. And just here is when I feel this is the start of you kind of like aligning your path with all that has happened. When Mars transited Aries, it wasn't just beating things up. It was basically aligning us spiritually for what needed to come.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that because the Mars is the way you strategize.
Yes.
How you do something, and the amount of passion and effort you put into it.
Yes.
So that's all completely new. People are going to do that in very new ways, innovative ways that may create some chaos in their lives, but that's okay. It needs that.
And you're asserting yourself, and you're not, and here too, in many ways, when Mars comes through, it's saying that you're not going to be a prisoner to your income to be your value. You're not going to have that sense of currency anymore, right? Because it's like, It's maybe disruptive, but you're willing to do it because knowing in your bones, knowing in your psyche, because Jupiter's there saying, no, it's going to work out. It will work out. You can take this risk. You can do this new venture. You can be who you want to be in this fire energy of Leo, and the individuality of Leo. And with essentially with Mercury's blessing there to say, go ahead, you can start creating this. This is new. This is great. this is what you're going to do. And it's pretty raw still, because Venus in your, your relationships may not even be caught up to speed with what's happening with you. But that's okay. You're going to have to find out later, because this could happen as a collective. We need to go to there,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Also, you look at Saturn's position relative to this. So this is the 10th house too. So a lot of what I see people doing is re-envisioning their career path.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Saturn and Uranus work together in many ways. Saturn is the way we suffer to gain enlightenment, the way we suffer to push forward our soul mission. And then Uranus is how we break through that, how we break through to get to our soul mission. But essentially, they're working in concert here because this is in the 10th house, to really say, is what I'm doing aligned with who I am? And what changes do I need to make? So this is actually brilliant. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. And it makes sense of all the turmoil we've recently had, of the fact that Saturn was squaring the nodes and is squaring the nodes, and has been for a little while now, months now. And that's, Laura and I were talking about how that sort of threw the brakes on many people, in terms of, because the nodes are our destiny, but put that on hold.
Right.
Why did it do that? But it's becoming clear why it did that, because we needed to have this evolution and rethink what's at the heart of the matter. And Saturn really begging us to consider as Americans, to consider what's at the heart of this. Is this the direction you really want to go? It's beautiful. It's like, I saw this and was very heartened by it, because yes, of course, this can cause violence, outbursts, these kinds of things. But in essence, in most people's lives, it's going to be a force for them to individualize.
Absolutely. That's the key word, individualize, with Uranus. It's, you just really express yourself in a more unique way. In all facets of life, because we use Mars in every facet of life. That's our willpower. So that really is a very important conjunction. I can't really stress it enough, what's happening in the sky right now with outer planets and nodes. It's always something major.
Yes.
So,
I mean, this is not an easy thing, because again, this is almost square here to Saturn, and that feeling of uncertainty and fear. But when you have Jupiter at your back, it really pushing you to see the bigger picture, it becomes possible if you can look at this as an opportunity, rather than things are happening for you and not to you. So in this vein, if there's a job that's lost, or there's opportunities that fall through and it seems chaotic, or you are making active changes to your income, the way you make money, the way you what people may perceive this as is you're not being wise. This is in Taurus. Why are you not being wise, prudent, that kind of thing? But in reality, you're doing this. You're individualizing, you're manifesting, and you're overcoming this fear to do so. So in the best light.
Yeah. And even though, when you get those Saturn Mars squares, Saturn node squares, that it can feel frustrating, because Mars is a planet that wants to do something right away. It wants to fix something right away. It's all about swiftness and speed, right? So, and Saturn is a big old hunk of rock saying, no, you can't do this right now.
Yeah.
So it can be outwardly very frustrating because you can't do in the outside world what you want to do. But there's a reason for that. Everything that happens with the planets, there's reasons for that. And one of those ways is through, the inner healing and realizations and, calming of the waters. So,
and the acceptance, because this is all very close to the heart of what people are trying to be, and it's really about individuality, and also Uranus is about individuality. So it's really this evolution for your individual good. And yes, we talked about this before we got on, but Saturn appears to be putting on hold many of the physical manifestations of things, appears to also be slowing us down in order to revamp the way we communicate to people in the collective sense and what we're putting out. But it's there for a reason, because we have to overcome our fears, our toxicities, our negativity, and really cultivating, because all this is happening in Taurus, you really have to think about the opposite axis, which is in Scorpio. Because again, we had that eclipse in Taurus, but we also had a lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So really the key to this, right back here in our emotional state.
Exactly. The lunar eclipse is the big action, the fulfillment, the action we're taking, and the actions in Scorpio, which is the deepest sign. It's a very deep place we got to go. It's all about the inner.
Yes.
So that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But if you're a Taurus Scorpio, you're really feeling this right now.
The changes, the catastrophic, cataclysmic changes of your life right now are happening for you to have an internal experience. So to the extent, being a Taurus right now, I can just say, and the Scorpios that I know too, it's less about the events that are happening or the events that have been put on delay in your life. Okay, because that's what it feels like.
Right. It's less about that. Yeah.
Not being able to buy homes that they want, not being able to move forward with manifesting their abundance that they want. But really, the seed is here. So the seed is in Leo, and we're coming up on that very quickly. It's not going to be long before we can start taking those actions and getting more creative. And that's what's going to happen too, because Mars then goes into to Gemini. So it's like we're going into the research phase, and we're really pushing out a lot of this that we've decided to do. And of course, here then Venus catches up with what our mind is doing, right? So we're reading people in our relationships into what's happening internally here after this occurs. So back, in August, we're then helping others to see our new direction. And it becomes a beautiful thing, but it is, and here too, so again, this is, now we're in the fifth house from this conjunction. And it looks like here we're really bringing these ideas into fruition, because Virgo's the sign of getting ourselves organized, like kind of getting these things into line. And of course, with Sun and Mercury together, they're bringing in, what you want to manifest to what your soul's mission is. And it's really beautiful. It's beautiful, actually.
Yeah. That Virgo is going to make it all manifest. Virgo and Gemini too are both signs they'll generally manifest things more because they're Mercury signs. But Virgo, especially because it's an earth sign and because it's the sign of work, you know, it was the sign of the harvest in the northern hemisphere. So you had to do all this work, but you got all of this abundance.
Yeah.
So it really is a sign that reflects it's the work I do. The results I get is from the work I do.
Yes. And that's true too, because so when Mars comes into here, it's really getting your ideas and your facts straight. And then too, which is nice because you've gone through this radical shift in, you know, really understanding and kind of sitting with the things you don't know and just it's really just deciding, okay, I'm going to roll my sleeves up and do some investigative work here. And I'm going to look at the facts and I'm going to start putting the ducks in a row to manifest what I need to do. And so it's a beautiful moment. And then, of course, the new moon is in Virgo. So just really lovely to bring that into fruition and to bring that into reality. So I just thought this was just such a nice change.
Yeah, this was so much fun and great. Such great insights.
Yeah, and I
really.
Many people is just struggling with Saturn putting those brakes on in their lives and not feeling like constricted, they can't make things happen, are really going to start seeing the breakthroughs occur.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited about this.
Yes, I am too. So much.
Right.
Uranus is always usually a really good planet to have in transit.
It doesn't always look good from the outside in because people may judge your quote erratic behavior, but at the same time, you know, like we were saying, you can't get anywhere without cracking some eggs here. And you have to disrupt the old ways and come into the new phase. And it's, you know, I want this to be positive for folks because I know how emotional things have been lately and how kind of ungratifying it is to have Saturn weigh us down and stop things from coming into fruition. But it was a necessary thing because, again, with that eclipse in Taurus and then the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, really just asking the collective to let go of let go of this this density, this unrequited desire frequency of lack, because you cannot manifest from a place of lack.
No,
you know, and Mercury will manifest, but only what is in your mind, what is in your thoughts, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Mercury is designed to organize things. You know, that's what it is, a planet of organization.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, you know, what the Saturn is not designed to make us feel bad. Its job is not to hurt us. It's to get rid of things that are in our lives that are no longer working. And so when, you know, people like hoarders, that just don't let go of anything and that destroys their life. I mean, and you know, you have people who they call anal retentive.
Right.
You know, when they were toddlers, they wouldn't go to the bathroom.
Yes. Yes.
That's Saturn. The function of pooping is Saturn, you know, and if we don't get rid of it, it's going to kill us.
Yep.
And so Saturn has probably the best job of all, is to show us how to get rid of things.
Yes.
And
what
it's a delay on our evolution because we have to get rid of something first before we can move forward.
And the way I read the chart today is the thing we are getting rid of is our limiting beliefs and our toxicity and our attachment to people, places, things that in the physical world and physicality so that we can manifest from a place of abundance and from a place of that real Leo spirit, really, of our creativity, So I just saw it and said, wow, this is quite the opportunity. Actually, it doesn't seem that way when you look at the world events. So just don't look at the world events. That's my if it bothers you, figure it out, because what is happening inside of you is so important and so empowering. And really excited to watch people overcome their insecurities and realize that although Taurus is important, I mean, I'm a Taurus, right? But we don't need to be a slave to our physical desires,
No. And that we'll never get anything out of materiality.
No.
As long as we have, our basic needs met, we can make ourselves happy. We absolutely have all the tools to do that.
Exactly. And so we're in a lovely place to let all of this go. Let that, for me, that lunar eclipse in Scorpio was so difficult, and it really took me down and kind of scrambled my mind of it. But it was, you see, our ability to let go of these things. We need to let go of all of this so that we can create from a space of abundance rather than a space of lack. Because you cannot
inner abundance.
Lack. So if you're waiting for events to befall before you manifest your dreams, wait no more. This is the time. The opportunity comes with Uranus, especially if you're in Taurus, or you're in Scorpio, or Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, these signs, and many more. If you have other placements in these key positions, this is your opportunity.
It is. Absolutely. Yeah, this is an exciting time.
It is.
So
thank you so much, Laura, for joining me. I hope we get to
do this. You're welcome. I loved this. This was great. We'll have to do this more.
Great. Okay. So I just wanted to thank Laura for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, hopefully many more times. And for now, I'll just say bye to the audience. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.